Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Welcome to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We welcome you as always, but we ask you please subscribe. Right at the onset, I'm asking you kindly subscribe. There's a button there so that you can help us, fight with these algorithms and get more supporters and more entrepreneurs involved. My guest is none other than Mr. Charles Segone. He's going to talk about brand development, something of great interest to entrepreneurs. Brand development, especially for artists. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Mr. Segone, here's a chance to introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are and share a little bit of your background.
Okay. Like you said, I am Charles Segone. I have a few trades that I trade in as an entrepreneur, but today specifically here on my head, brand development. Or what others usually term as an artist manager. But
excuse me.
Yes, but I've gone on to redefine it, or times have gone to redefine it as a brand developer, because you deal with a lot more than just managing an artist, but focusing on building and turning that artist into a brand, and that can actually trade, because at the end of the day,
I just want you to introduce yourself in terms of your training and your expertise, and then we'll get to your trade.
Okay. My expertise, I have two expertise. I'm a tour manager. I have a travel and tours company, and then at the same time, I do artist management. This is a trade that was self-taught out of passion. A passion I discovered in my journey as a student in the University of Botswana. So
any formal training, educationally speaking?
Educationally speaking, I'm currently pursuing a finance degree in the University of Botswana. I'm on my third year approaching my final year. And then, that's the formal training I have.
Mm-hmm. How did you get to brand development?
Brand development, I got into it through one of the first, I'd say, a client I had, or really someone I worked closely with. It wasn't really something I planned to do. It's something that fell on my lap, and then I took it for a ride, and it worked out. So I worked closely with a well-known brand by the name Jamaica, whom I started working with early 2017.
He's all over the billboards, isn't it?
Yeah, early
and
2017.
How many followers does he have now?
Currently we are sitting on 954,000 the last time I checked. 954,000.
Just on the verge of 1 million.
Just on the verge of 1 million. Hopefully in the next month it will be on 1 million. Yeah, and then...
you worked with him from the beginning up to now?
I met him while he was still at Grassroots around 2017 up to now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I think he's been my biggest project to date. I've worked with a few others, but he was my biggest project.
Okay, what was the turning point for you? How did it explode with Jamaica?
The turning point was I think more or less I was driven by his passion, and then what I did as I came into the picture is I just brought in an element of admin and organization into the whole thing, because we have this problem where we have artists, they are talented, fairly talented, but unfortunately what I picked is a lot of them fail when it comes to admin. A lot of them fail when it comes to now branding themselves and actually being something, and actually bringing something to the table that you can actually sell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I came in, and that was the turning point for everything on my side.
Okay, just define brand positioning in the arts. What is that specifically in simplistic terms?
Okay, brand positioning in the arts, the way I define it, is basically where now you define yourself in terms of how you want the public to perceive you, and then after doing that, you define your trade, and then you package it, and then you sell it, and then you're able to now monetize it and make money out of it. That's basically brand positioning by my definition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when you say in the arts, what fields are you referring to?
In the arts, generally referring to all arts. Your music, your comedy, like I said, I work with Jamaica who is in comedy. Your performing arts, your visual arts, you name them. All arts in general, basically, the principle is the same. Because at the end of the day, it's you now harnessing talent, packaging your talent as something that is sellable and turning it into a product.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what sort of training did you have in that specific area?
The only training I came across, I'd say, were a few courses I came across in pursuit of my degree in the university. I did a few marketing courses, and then I did a few courses from the law fraternity, it's business law. So those few things I picked up from those, actually, I just put them together and it worked out.
Okay, and one of the areas you're focused on is PR, public relations.
Yes.
Let's understand that.
Yes. So for PR part, like I said, it's all about building a perception, and then always making sure that you manage the image that you've built.
Perception management.
Yes, perception management. So that there is that element of consistency. There is that element of rapport with the audience that you are trying to reach out to, because it's very important. Like another element of brand positioning would be having an audience that you're able to build rapport with, and knowing that you keep that audience engaged and fully connected with you at all times.
Mm-hmm. And what are the tools that you use to manage that perception?
We are in the fourth industrial revolution, so our biggest and my biggest tool that I've been working with has been the internet. It's something that's globalized on its own. It's something that has got a great reach, and it's one tool that I think a lot of people are overlooking at the moment, but that has been the biggest tool that we've worked with, and trying to move away from traditional media. If we go back to NM Jamaica, like we talked earlier, I would say he has been a pioneer in the comedy industry, because if you look back to 2017 when he started, there was no one doing what he was doing. He started it, and then we managed to package it nicely, and then ultimately ended up monetizing it. And I think we've done a good job so far. So that is why I say he's managed to pioneer it, and I've just been there to just, like I said, I was just the admin behind and just crunching.
How do you get corporates to be interested in an artist?
With corporates now, that's another part where the admin comes in. It's all about being a salesman. You package your brand. After packaging your brand, you approach a corporate, and then you give them value. Because at the end of the day, it's all about value. You need to position yourself such that you know what value you are selling, what value you can give to them, and how they can leverage from it. So from the get-go, we've always had numbers on our side on social media, number one. And then number two, we've always had the perception issue on lockdown, because we've managed to build a very clean brand. Because if you look at another important thing that is important is to also understand where you're operating. Now, a country like Botswana, the population, the culture, we are a very conservative nation. So when you deal with such people, you cannot bring about elements that you get maybe from the pop culture in the States or such, you understand? where you'd come in and then, for example, you'd come in, you'd rap, and then you'd be casing all over. You need to understand where you are, and then you are able to position yourself nicely and actually be able to now get that rapport I was talking about earlier with the audience that you're actually engaging. Yeah, that has been our biggest, I think, cutting edge throughout time.
Which other artists have you worked with, and what have been the results?
I started with Jamaica, and then currently I've managed to rope in. There's a group of DJs called FME DJs. FME DJs, yes. I've also roped those in. And then I've not just limited myself to artists, but to all creatives basically. Because amongst those as well, there's another lad by the name Mr. Huitman Kutsafalo.
GK
Kutsafalo, yes. Also, I've been also working with him behind the scenes on his brand as well. So those are just some of the few that I've actually been engaging with. I'd say extensively. Some have been just touch and go, just advices here and there, but these are the ones that I've actually been a bit hands-on with.
What about speakers and motivational speakers, of which there's plenty in Botswana?
Yes, we have plenty of those. And I haven't gotten to that space yet. Another thing I actually try to do is to avoid overwhelming myself. So I really try to keep, so that I can be as effective as possible. I make sure that I manage the numbers and the number of people I'm working with at a time to avoid a situation whereby I would be failing one simply because there's only one me and little time and I can't be able to service them all effectively. So I'm that honest with myself to say, you know what, I can't take on 10 people at a time. I'll take 3, 4, 5 and stick to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So beyond comedy and DJs, which other area are you moving to, or what sort of area, the kind of artists you're working with, in what niche, so to speak?
Currently, oh God, I get on a bit AC boost. But recently I've just gotten into an engagement with now someone in the sports fraternity. There's a young lady by the name Ona Mimhotsa. She's a golfer. She's going professional. She's been in the States. She was actually studying in the States on sports, on athletic sponsorship. So she's now graduating and she's now moving into professional golfing. She'll be part of international tournaments in golf. So I'm also working with her. She has a sports management firm in the UK where she is now. But I'll be the license from this side. So I'm now trying to tap into sports because, like, we just saw a beautiful performance from the previous Olympics.
You did great with that.
Yeah.
Is that the 4x4?
Yeah.
Relay.
Yeah. So I'm also now looking to tap into sports and actually bring that element, like I said, of being able to package and brand, be able to position and actually ultimately monetizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of monetizing, is it really hard to monetize artists in the social media space?
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's a matter of being creative. It's a matter of knowing where you want to be. Like the question you asked earlier, how do you approach corporates? It's just a matter of knowing what the corporate needs, being able to now sit down, come up with a proper marketing plan for a corporate, or be able to assimilate yourself into an existing marketing plan that you see that they're implementing and actually positioning yourself enough to say, okay, but I can fit in here. I see you doing 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can fit in and actually increase the value that you are reaping currently by this much. So that is just
it's really a matter of packaging, isn't it?
It's really a matter of packaging. That's why we started off, we were talking about brand positioning. It's just a matter of packaging. If you're able to package yourself, you're able to turn yourself into a product, just like sukiri on a shelf, then you'll be able to sell.
And what do you think people are getting it wrong? I mean, there's a lot of people leaving money on the table. There are a lot of artists who are being exploited. Where are the big mistakes being made?
Gosh. One thing that I mentioned earlier, that we are a conservative bunch in this country. even our artists are like that. They still think the traditional way that I need to make a CD and then go sell a CD at the bus rank and I'll make money. But we've gotten to a point where everything is digital. You can't. It's very hard now to keep track of creative media and actually follow it up and make money out of it. So the only thing to do is to create media, make yourself relevant with the media, then find other ways of now leveraging that in terms of influence. We now call them influencers nowadays. That's where money is. So it's very hard to make money out of talent nowadays. So basically, you use your talent to just get audience. With that audience, then you're able to now.
So don't think in terms of selling CDs. What else? What are the other mistakes?
Another mistake is always crying for handouts. A lot of artists, even during lockdowns, which was, to me, I feel was the best time to actually pioneer and actually develop this culture of influencing online space, because people were locked in their houses but they had access to online. And that was the time to position yourself and actually say, I'm building an audience online because now I'm here at home and everybody's at home, they're able to now easily access me. But a lot of them were failing to do that because they were waiting for government to give out money, to give out handouts and whatnot. But those who were smart actually ran into the streets and they actually got a little bit of the pie out of it during that time.
Do you think that is part of the dependency syndrome? Maybe we're too used to being dependent on government.
Definitely.
How do you fight that dependency syndrome?
It's a mindset thing.
It's
a mindset issue. So it's really up to young professionals, because at the end of the day, it's a collective effort. We also have these young professionals who have done marketing, who have done finance, who have done law, who are at home and just saying, I've been applying, I can't get a job. And on the other hand, we have these creatives who are on the other side. And they're failing to do that. I mean, because a lot of them, you'll find that they don't have any formal training. They haven't gone as far as varsity. But there's this person who has gone to varsity, who is waiting for a job. Why not partner with that artist and collaborate and create something out of the talent that they already have, the reach that they already have? Because that's basically what I did. Yes.
Okay. So, and what are you observing? Is the mindset beginning to change, or is it more of the same?
I feel like Botswana are hopeless at the moment. I don't want to lie, because you get on social media, they're bashing the government, they're crying to the government. It's the same old song. And you ask that person, but what are you doing to mitigate the status quo that you're crying about? And there's nothing they're doing. So until we learn to stand up for ourselves as a nation and actually start doing, I don't think anything will change anytime soon. I work a lot with guys from SA and a few other neighboring countries. And they would always say when they're here, life is slow in Botswana. And I've actually gotten to realize that, because in Botswana you can wake up and go to sleep without having achieved a single thing in that day, and it's just normal, and we've normalized it. You're just waiting to get a job because you've been applying. You're just waiting for that. So I think that's the biggest problem we're having at the moment. Government is not supporting artists. Government is not giving artists airplay on BTV. But you have a phone, you're on social media, you have subscribed for social media. What are you doing to leverage that? Yes.
Okay. Well, last year we did have dramatic situations with artists, accusing certain races of hoarding resources, in a very, very dramatic way. One of the big ones was ATI. As someone sitting there as a brand development expert, what do you say when there are such dramatic scenes? I think there was one also, an artist who went to the stadium, or was it the GSS grounds, and complained, and there have been petitions to government. On the other hand, there are people like Barry Hart, for instance, and Kiaroma Rantau, for instance, who have moved to fashion, and they didn't just lament the lockdown and the pandemic. They moved to other areas and they're thriving.
Exactly. That's actually the issue. Like I said earlier, you need to position yourself, build an audience. With that audience, leverage it. One of the people who are doing that very excellently at the moment would be our V. V has found a very nice working model that a lot of artists are actually failing to do, and there is still a lot of space for a lot of them to actually enter in the space.
What is this model? What does he do?
Okay, we've seen him launch his Mavita water. We've seen him launch a few V products, the energy drinks and all those. And mind you, he's doing this simply because, and he's always saying it even in his videos, that I'm here because of your numbers. And I don't know if people are failing to read between the lines or what, but he's simply just leveraging on the followership and the numbers that he has, because he has this model where he's I don't know if I should get into this.
Well, it's public, isn't it?
Yeah, it is public. But basically what he's doing is he's approached a big retailer out there. He's made a partnership to put his brand on the already existing products, and then they sell it. He gets what he gets out of it. He doesn't even have to worry about the capital, the admin behind the production and all those things. All he does is push the marketing, and he gets what he gets out of it. And it's basically where the world is going. Like I was saying, you can't make money out of selling music nowadays. Music, you do it to stay relevant, to keep your brand out there in the people. And then you have other things now that you do to actually monetize the brand.
You say you can't make money out of music directly, but I mean, just last weekend, a South African artist came to the piazza and filled it up to the rafters, and even got HE to make a comment about it. So you can still make music and attract people.
Yes. Okay. To rephrase that, I'd say, let me just say sustainably. The arts, it's an issue of fashion and trends. So you can be trending today, but in 5 years you'll be no more. But the idea is to make sure that in that 5 years when you are no more, you have something sustainable that can actually still sustain you to keep on going forward. That's why I say you can't live on music entirely if you have that kind of talent, or comedy or whatever. You need to leverage it as much as possible, create something, some form of wealth, while you're still on top, that will now sustain you beyond your trending. Because in 2 years, somebody else will come up, and then you'll be no more. It's just the nature of the business.
What do you say to those artists who are reluctant to involve agents or even professionals, or even people like you, companies like you, feeling that they can't afford to pay a third party, feeling that they should keep the pie to themselves? What argument would you make for saying you need an expert, you need an outside marketing company to help you?
I think the biggest challenge we have with them is trust, because there has been chances we have come through, and those chances came, they ruined and cheated people out of their hard-earned cash. And I think I understand where artists come from in terms of that, because a lot of them are actually reluctant to explore that, because some either have direct bad experience or have seen someone experience it and are just now phobic towards the idea. But what I can simply say is it's high time we got into a point where now you vet not out of friendship, because a lot of these guys, if you look at them, you'd find that they were cheated and robbed out of those by people who were their friends, who they thought they were friends, would be best friends. You become you break through in your talent, and then I say, no, I'll manage you.
Sometimes relatives.
Yeah, sometimes relatives even. So it doesn't work that way. They need to seek professionals. They need to seek people who can actually who actually have a track record to show for that, and say, we need those services. And in life, in economics, life is it's all about give and take. If you're going to say, I want the entire pie to myself, then you're not going to have a pie at the end of the day. So you need to be willing to share a pie to actually have a pie in front of you.
Tell us about Humber Tani Tours.
Oh, Humber Nati Tours.
Humber Nati, sorry.
Okay. That was actually my first entrepreneurship project that I did. I started this back in the days just after I finished my BGCSE. So it's a brand I've built over the years, and I think we are here now. So basically what we do is we just do travel services. We do travel packages, but our travel packages are mainly tailored for the middle class economy, because we've realized that everybody likes travel, everybody wants to be seen snapping and doing all that in Cape Town, but it's now a matter of affordability. So what we simply do is cluster people and then actually be able to leverage and get good pricing on hotels, get good pricing on transport and all that for such. And then we've also recently, since last year, gone into executive transport, where we now handle VIPs. In fact, we've actually been doing that since 2018, because in 2018 we were handling the transport management for the GIMC from 2018 to date. It's just that unfortunately it was not there last year. But
GIMC?
Yeah, the Humber International Music Festival. Yes, so we do the transport management for that through Humber Nati, where we basically just, when they have artists coming in from all over, be it US or wherever, when they're on the ground, the site, we handle the shuttle needs. Yes, so we've got into that space as well. And then we've also worked with a few embassies around town. When they're overwhelmed and need extra transport from outside, they do engage us for that.
What sort of vehicles do you guys have? Limousines?
No, not limousines. But we do have executive vehicles. It just depends on the specifications of the client, because where we don't actually have a vehicle, we outsource it. We've built partnerships with people who have all sorts of luxurious vehicles. So any luxurious vehicle you want, you just let us know, and then we organize it with our trained chauffeurs, because we also have chauffeurs who are trained for that. So yeah, we just do
My
that.
daughter is graduating BGCSE, from 5, we call it, next month. She's looking for an exotic vehicle for her graduation. How can you assist as Humber Nati Tours?
Yes, we can assist in that regard. We have all sorts. I think the trendy one that the millennials like is this Mercedes-Benz V-Class, the V250. We have access to that as well. So
how do you pay? What sort of costs are we talking?
Costs depend on the time. We rate, depending on what you want, we rate either per hour or per day. Yes. So, for example, if you wanted to do that prom pickup, which would be an evening thing all the way up until the late evening, you go back home. Depending on the vehicle you would want, the rates would range somewhere from 1,500 going up, depending on the vehicle. Yes, so you'll have a driver picking you up and then being with you for the hours that you would have requested, and then until you're taken back to your final destination.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And how do you handle the two companies side by side? The brand development and the tour side. How does it work? And how do you manage to juggle?
I would just say it's a matter of how determined you are, where you want to see yourself, the vision you have for yourself. So I really wouldn't say I have a formula, but I have 24 hours in a day. Sometimes I sleep 1 hour in those 24 hours. Sometimes I don't sleep at all, just to make sure that I keep everything running and everything going. So that's just how I do it. It's a matter of sacrifice. I don't have a social life at times, but that's what it takes to try and get at the bigger end goal.
Okay. Now, you want to talk a little bit about collaboration in the globalized world. tell us what systems for collaboration you have in place for both Humber and and for the brand development business.
Okay, on the brand development side, it's one thing that I've always preached, that we need more collaborations. Like I gave an example earlier. You'd find that you have something that somebody else needs, and you don't have the money to pay for the service from that person. And then that person has something you need, but they don't have the money to pay for it. So why not collaborate and find a way of actually leveraging both your abilities and get money out of it? So with us, from the brand development side, we don't really make artists pay. The fair model we use is we sit down, we draw up an agreement, and in that agreement, whatever we are going to get together, once we have the pie in front of us, that's when we start sharing the pie. So what we devise is a model of how we're going to share that pie when it comes before.
It's almost like a commission.
Yes, more like a commission. So we don't really have a retainer where you have to pay a retainer and then, no, we don't do that.
Okay. Well, I was asking about collaboration internationally, even continentally.
Through the years of working with different people, we managed to build a network. So once we work together, you get exposed to that network. So it's basically, I'd say it's a perk of working with us. That's just how it goes. Once you're with us, once you're in the stable, then you get exposed to our network. And
so are you active in other countries besides BW?
Currently, the only other country we are active in is SA. Yes, because SA, I perceive it as a gateway. If you can make it there, then
you can make it into
Africa.
Africa.
Make it into Africa and ultimately the world. So we've tried to really build strong networks that side, and we do have those. And
do you have offices there yet?
No offices yet. No offices yet. The only entity that will soon be setting up is Humber. We've partnered with another travel company based in Durban, so very soon we'll be now working with them and actually having them bring South Africans this side, and we take in Botswana to that side. Yes.
What do you say? You talked about mindset, but what do you say is the greatest challenge facing youth entrepreneurship, concerns or youth businesses in Botswana?
I think my biggest gospel would be going back to the one we just talked about, which is collaboration. Youth, we don't have access to loan facilities simply because we have poor credit ratings, or we have actually zero credit rating because we haven't actually had any assets that we have accumulated. So it becomes a big challenge to go out there and borrow. Yes, there are government schemes and whatnot, but it's not everybody that will be able to benefit from that. But ultimately, something that you readily have available to you is already the talent that you possess. And I always advocate that let us try to actually collaborate. That's actually how I met Mjamaica. I met him through Humber. I was just going about, and then I was like, dude, I see you doing these skits on social media and whatnot, but how about you come in and do a skit for me at Humber because I have this trip, and then I'll take you on the trip for free. That's actually how it started. So then he fell in love with the proposal I had put together, and then we went on the trip. It was a success back in 2017. And then when we came back, that's when we sat down and it's like, but the way you put down your proposal and the way you actually managed to convince me to do this with you, I think it can actually also work for me. That's when I also actually now got into the space of management for artists.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, so that's how it all started. It was a collaboration. I didn't pay him in the beginning. He didn't pay me for anything. And then we are here now, and we are now helping each other
I once tried to get him on the Nuggets, and I think he had a massive appearance fee. So you've made him unaffordable now, haven't you?
I think the news didn't reach me, but I think for such, because we do also have corporate social responsibility. So I think for something like this, where we share knowledge and actually impart on fellow Botswana, it's something we wouldn't charge for.
Okay.
But yeah.
So through you, will you get him here? Through you, I think that's when we were still starting. He wasn't sure what we were about,
Okay.
but I'm sure now he sees the value
Yeah.
in coming to talk to his people. I mean, he's 1 million followers, almost 1 million followers.
Yeah.
This would be a good platform for both me and him
Okay.
to talk to his people.
No, we'll work that.
We'll work through that. Eh?
Yes.
Investment and wealth creation from the arts. That's a very broad subject. I don't know where to start. Wealth creation. I mean, we look at this young man who passed away, Drummer Boy, and the impression from the media is that he hadn't created much wealth, but he was immensely talented. What can artists do to really position themselves for wealth creation from day one, so to speak?
A lot of artists are failing to treat their talent like a profession. That's the biggest challenge I've seen so far. Once you go and perform at a show, you're paid 30,000. You're gonna buy a car with that 30,000. You don't sit down and come up with an investment model for that 30,000 to make it a sustainable,
to quadruple over time.
And quadruple it over time. You get they get sidetracked by the lifestyle associated with what they do. And I think that is the biggest challenge. So I think it's just a matter of really capacitating them to understand that. Yes, we all want to be lavish. Yes, we want to have gold chains all over like those American artists. But before you get there, you need to set yourself up and actually have something that you can harness even beyond your talent. That's why earlier I was saying, you need to now start having our artists thinking beyond just their talent, but actually use their talent as a step instead to create. Because I feel like when you're an artist, you actually have an advantage because you're able to get that booking for a show and then make money out of it, money that has very little input costs. And then
you mean, for instance, you perform for an hour or 2 hours?
Yes.
Or you get 30,000? You
get 30,000 and then you're going to spend maybe 200 at most on petrol and maybe give your manager whatever percentage you've agreed, and then you'll still be left with a huge chunk of that money. But then from there, what do you do with it? You squander it because you want to be seen living lavishly in the city. So I think we need to now indoctrinate this mindset of entrepreneurship in our artists. Because if you look at NM Janaka as we speak, he's got quite a few investments. One of them that is popular being the car rental, and it's growing. And it's something that even beyond comedy, he'll still be able to have something coming in at the end of the month. And I think also they fail also on the aspect of insurance in the form of your life covers, insurance in the form of your medical aids, such things. They take them for granted and they be like, I'll see you when life gets there. And then at the end of the day, you see what we just saw, that you just cited, that people will be asked to make donations, and it doesn't really appear good on you as a person. Even though you've passed on, it still reflects badly on you and your family and your children. So we need to have our artists get into that point where they understand that you need to have a pension plan even though you're an artist. At the end of the day, there'll come a point where now you won't be able to sing if you're a singer, or you won't be able to run if you're a runner. And you'd still need income, you'd still need to eat at that time, you'd still need to sustain yourself and your family at that time. So does your company then assist there with regard to really creating a long-term plan for that artist to from an administrative standpoint? Is that what you put together? Exactly. The admin that I was talking about earlier is exactly that. Making sure that when your income comes in, it's not just income for the present, but income for the future as well.
Mm.
So that's how we try to manage our artists and make sure that they have a long-term benefit from their current beneficiation.
Okay, there's an association, isn't it, for artists? I've had Mr. Gilbert. I'm trying to remember his name. He's the president of the Association for Artists. Called Botswana. It's not Bomu, it's the other one.
Yes, there's quite a few of them.
But
yes.
he was very much involved in Drummer Boy's situation, and also with the recent artist that came in last weekend. But what I'm saying is this: that are you putting together an organization that creates a safety net for these artists?
I'm not there yet, but hopefully it's something that the company can actually grow to do. Because, like I said, it's one of the growing concerns. Even insurance companies don't even have those packages that are just tailor-made for artists, for instance. So I think this is actually an idea for them. But we need to get to that point where we're able to create sustainable wealth for our artists.
Okay.
And, yeah.
What about the other artists, such as painters and other creatives like traditional music? Is there a role for them in the organization, and are you assisting them in any way?
To date, I have not worked with such, but in future, as my capacity increases, I would like to. Ideally, I would like to work with all forms of arts and actually show that they are all able to actually monetize their art. Because the whole idea is that to simply just monetize the art and make something out of it that is actually sustainable. People are always saying that companies in Botswana are not paying, companies in Botswana are not, but I see the contrary when I walk into boardrooms. I've walked into quite a few, and they're always willing, as long as you're able to.
They have budgets for these things.
They have budgets for these things.
It's a matter of presentation and packaging.
It's a matter of presentation and packaging. If you're able to put it down well, they will open the wallet for you.
Okay. Now, as we come closer to the end of our conversation, would you care to tell us of your plans, as it were, 5, 10, 20 years? Crystal ball gazing. Can you gaze into that crystal ball and tell us what is the long-term outlook for both Humber Nati and the other one? What's the name of the other company?
The other company is Rush Menage.
Rush Menage.
Yes. It's French.
So it means what?
Rush. It's something that I'd say just a catchy name we came up with, and then Menage is family. Yes, so it's just the Rush family. Yes, so in the long term, what we're looking at is to actually have that safe haven for artists, where they would be able to have a place where they would fully self-actualize and fully be able to make the most out of their talent. And then again, be able to have that hub where now we are able to now export our local talents and actually make as much as possible out of them out there. Yes. And then for Humber Nati, that one, I really just want to conquer the tourism industry, if I may put it boldly like that. So Humber Nati at one point should be having that fleet of buses. It should be having a few lodges here and there. It should be having all that. I want to create a tourism ecosystem. I also want to be able to have that point where now we would have entertainment and amusement parks, because we lack a lot of entertainment in this country, and I believe that's what I personally associate this whole alcoholism we have in the country with, is because we have less entertainment centers in the entire country. If you go next door in South Africa, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to leisure, but this side, there are very few.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll be watching this show 20 years from now together and seeing whether you've fulfilled some of those ambitions.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good luck to you with that. Here's your chance to put a question to me.
Okay. I know you also wear multiple hats as an entrepreneur. Where was your turning? Where would you say your turning point was in terms of your breakthrough in the entrepreneurial space? Because I understand you started off as a lawyer, or you are a trained lawyer, and then now you are diversified. Is the nuggets of wisdom? There is Mogobe properties. It's a whole lot, and it's something you actually all aspire to be, to have that huge portfolio under us.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on a specific time and place, but looking back, I think it was Steve Jobs who said, you don't see the dots forward, you connect them backwards. So connecting the dots backwards, I would say the turning point was when I started reading the Kiyosakis of this world in the midst of a challenge that I had, and I started looking at alternative sources of income. I was almost forced to do that because of the problem I had with my profession. That was one major turning point. The other turning point is, I think, after reading a book by Brian Tracy called Goals. We were on holiday with my wife and I read this book and I started actually now actualizing. Before I used to have goals that I generalized, but I remember a time when I actually wrote specific goals where I worked out what was my position financially at the time. I think it was 06. And I projected over 10, 15 years. And I started actually projecting, thinking about it, putting it down. And then that's where there was a shift. It was almost magical, because now looking back, when I look at that piece of paper, I see that not only have I met those goals within the time frames I intended, but I've exceeded some of them substantially. So I think the key was the Kiyosaki experience, reading that book, with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and other associated books. And then secondly, active, conscious goal setting and goal implementation within the context of the personal development story. Another thing that I could mention is being part of a group, what we call we picked it from Napoleon Hill, actually, in his book, Think and Grow Rich, where he talks about a mastermind group. So we had a mastermind group that we set up about 20 years ago. It was a key turning point where we meet, a group of professionals from different industries, we meet and we empower each other. So some of the lessons and the experiences from that, they were also instrumental in terms of fueling the journey. So these are, at random, these are the key points, looking back, that had made the biggest difference.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We've come to the end of our conversation. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Now look at that camera, sir, and share with the viewers, Mr. Charles Segone, and tell them something inspirational, motivate them, leave them with a takeaway that they can take home. And after that, give them your contact details.
Okay. In life, often when you see people who have actually succeeded at something, the first thing you'd see is the success, but not the pain behind, not the failures behind. So in whatever you're doing, always try to look beyond and actually focus on the end goal, because you will not fail once, you will not fail twice or 10 times, you will fail 100 times. But the key thing is to keep on waking up each time, and on that 101st time will be the actual time when you actually now start to make it through. In my few years of life in entrepreneurship, is one of the biggest things I've come to learn. I've fallen so many times, I've been bankrupt so many times, but each time I didn't give up, each time I didn't curl up, I actually woke up and started marching forward further. So with that said, yeah, let's not give up. Let's just keep on trying. Let us keep on working towards our goals, and we'll eventually make it. The idea is to not give up, because it doesn't come easy. Nothing good comes easy.
Okay, how do they reach you? You have contact details, please.
Yes, to reach me, for Humber Tours services, or to inquire fully on them, we have a Facebook page or a website, humbertours.com, or on Facebook, just Humber Tours. Again, if you want to reach us directly, you can just reach us on 7123-7231 or 73223344. So those are the numbers to reach. And then even for the artist, if you're an artist or you are someone who needs help to be helped or consulted on with your brand, also you can just contact the 7123-7231 number, and you'll be assisted there.
Thank you very much, sir. You've shared a lot of useful takeaways and insights for which we fully appreciate. I'm sure you'll be quite happy to come back. We'd be quite happy to have you back in due course as you implement some of these ambitious goals of yours. And thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure.